Well, I'm playing with the airplane a little bit today. Going to work on the Pitot-Static tube, or according to Zenith, they just put a Pitot tube in, but we're going to modify it and make it a Pitot-Static. And this is one of those deals where I think it'll work, but if it doesn't, why, we'll change it. You know, experimental aviation, plans built. So anyway, before I get to that, a few questions that have come up here on mainly the Zenith list over the last few days, and I'm gonna kind of step back from that and not post my opinions there. I don't think nearly as much. If I've got something really relevant, I will, but otherwise I think I still monitor about 4 aviation lists there on building stuff, and when things come up that I think might be somewhat interesting and I have opinion on, why I think I'll probably just put it in a video just like this today. So several things. First one's, how many Clecos do you need? Well, you need all of them. So if we look at this wing behind me, and I've got lots more Clecos in there that I need. I do that especially as a plans builder because it stabilizes those skins and the parts you've assembled and fitted to each other better. There's some questions about skins flexing and if you needed extra support, and we'll get to that in a minute. But if you put more Clecos in there, that holds it a little bit better and closer to being in position, where if you've got a Cleco every 4th hole or something like that, why, you know, if you're working out of a kit and it's a kit built that's already pre-drilled and match drilled and everything like Zenith's been doing on their planes now, why, it doesn't matter. You know, they're going to self-align, and they do a certain degree. When you plans build them, once you get to this point, yes, they self-align too to a certain degree, but it will hold those skins quite a bit better in position, and you get less flex and less waviness of the skins and things like that. And especially where I move these around, why I like lots of Clecos there to hold everything in its position and as rigid as I can. So how many Clecos do you need for the, and I'll give you the rundown, and this is what I gave to the builder on the Zenith list. Zenith's recommended, and his was for a 650, 1/8 inch 200, 5/32 200, and 3/32 50. For the 701 for 1/8 inch, they recommend 200, and these are the minimums. You know, I think these are not nearly enough for anything that I want to do. They're not even close. Even if I was building a kit, I'd want multiple times what they're suggesting. 1/8 inch, they say 200 for the 701, 5/32 they say 60, and 3/32 are 40. Well, when we look at this, excuse me, when we look at this wing, I've got 3/32, there's 138 of them in this wing alone. 1/8 inch, there's 232. When I look, and I was cleaning up stuff today, the weather's still kind of iffy. Sometimes we've had rain most of the day today, so I really hate to pull the wing all the way back outside, so I've got room and rearrange stuff. So it's been raining off and on. So anyway, I went through and I was cleaning up Clecos, trying to reorganize them, and I thought, well, I wonder just how many I've got. So when I start going through mine, of the, well, here's my totals right here. For, out of 1/8 inch, the Zenith recommends 200. I've got 610 right here. And when you buy Clecos, you better plan. You're gonna donate a certain amount to the Cleco gods, because they're gonna fall on the floor, roll under something. You're not gonna find them. I was just looking and I see there's a 3/32 laying on the floor just out of reach behind the bending brake over here. So you're gonna use more there. You're gonna lose some of them too. But anyway, 1/8 inch, they recommend 200. I've got 610 or 611 here in this little tub right here, or total, between what's on the wing and what's in that tub. And 5/32, they recommend 40 for the 701, and I've got, what, 201 here in this little tub. And then 3/32, I guess they recommend 60 of the 5/32. Yeah, and 3/32, they recommend 40, and I've got 180. So, and there's more than that kicking around. There's in the wing skeleton up above here, why, there's probably 8 or 10 there. There's 6 or 8 on the fuselage out there holding the elevator in place, and the dash instrument panel in there is being held by some Clecos, and there's a few others kicking around in some sub-assemblies and stuff that I've got. So in total, I've got a little over 1,000 Clecos right now, and I would like to have at least another 100 330 seconds. You know, I feel I could use that as a scratch builder or as a plans builder. So that's that one. Another question was, is it worthwhile to put the little reinforcement ribs that some of the guys have added between the ribs and the top skin on the wings? Is it necessary? No, I don't think it is. Does it hurt anything? No. And you get the question of how much weight you're adding. The weight is minuscule. You know, we've had this weight discussion about using the 3/4 inch 6061 angle iron or angle aluminum that you use in the airplane. And Zenith calls for 093 material. 125 is what's commonly available to us. 093 is proprietary to Zenith. I've never been able to source it or seen it sourced from any place other than through Zenith. So it's proprietary to them. Zenith's recommendations for years is, yes, you can substitute 1/8 inch or 125 for that 093. And there's been the discussions about how much weight you add there. It amounts to about, I don't remember exactly, 3 or 4 pounds, something like that. It was less than 5 pounds if I remember correctly, and I was involved in that discussion quite a while back. On the internet, these guys are trying to pass it off of you're adding 15, 20, 25 pounds by using that extrusion rather than the Zenith extrusion. And yes, you want to keep it as light as you can, but let's be realistic about it. You know, if you can't source it or you're going to save several $100s by using locally available materials, why, you're better off to do that. And that's a perfect example of a substitute that's acceptable for the plane. Now, in my opinion on this is, are those little stiffeners necessary? And you're going to use standard L angle that we formed up for these, and then form them a little bit so they match that upper rib profile. Are they necessary? No, I don't think they are. Am I going to put them on? Yeah, I am, but it's not because I feel it's necessary. It's because in this second bay here from the wingtip, I've put a dent in there, and I've straightened it out. It'll be perfectly acceptable, but I've stretched that material a little bit. So I'm going to add those stiffeners in the wings, and I'm going to do in the 3 outboard wings, and just to give it a little more support there, make it a little more rigid, since I have stretched that material on this wing. If I hadn't done that, no, I would not have installed them. I did put the L angles in the sides of the fuselage. Sides and the bottom of the fuselage, actually, and probably the top too, if I think about it. But there's quite a bit of discussion about oil canning on the fuselage itself, and for me, that I felt was a worthwhile thing, just to help hold down that noise just a little bit for a minimum. You know, there again, a little bit of L angle doesn't weigh anything. So, yes, I'm going to use it. Is it necessary? No. Is it anything I was even contemplating put in before I had this little ding in the top skin? No, it's not. So, anyway, those are just my opinions. Other things going on. Is an air drill necessary? I've done things on air drills before. Yes, I think an air drill is far superior to a battery-powered drill. I don't think a battery-powered drill spins fast enough for drilling our aluminum. I use these little lightweight, I prefer the little Chicago pneumatic that I've talked about before, which has now been discontinued, but there's other options out there. An air drill spins faster. It gives a more true hole. It gives a better hole than a cordless drill does. Will a cordless drill do the job? Yes, it will, but I don't think it's as efficient, and I don't think it does as good a job. So yes, I think it's worthwhile. And you don't have to necessarily source this stuff from Zenith, same way with rivet guns. If you're buying your stuff and you want to source them from Zenith, I think that's great. I think it's a good deal to support them. They're there to support us. So I think we can return that favor in at least, you know, some degree of purchasing items from them. Is it a necessity? I see some guys saying, yeah, you got to buy your rivet heads from Zenith. We've been down this road before. I've done a couple of videos on those. They're easy to form your own heads. And if you're doing more than one rivet gun, which most of us probably will, it's nice to be able to form your own heads. It doesn't take you any time at all. Total cost for tooling is probably about $20 for a carbide burr, and that's all you need. We're all going to have a Dremel or a Fordham tool or something to spin that. They can be cut in a lathe, but I haven't shown machining them in a lathe just because it's easy to do them by hand, and that's the way most guys are going to do them, is by hand. If I remember, I'll link my latest video on that up in the description. Guys have talked about having to anneal the rivet heads before you can machine them and stuff. If you're running the carbide burr, I've never run into a current rivet head that you have to, or pulling head that you have to anneal. You know, you take your carbide burr, you cut it and polish them up, and you're good to go. It's an easy process. Zenith, I think, charges a minimal amount if you send your heads in, and you know, there again, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. I see no problem at all with supporting Zenith in that aspect. And if you're buying other stuff from them and you're buying a rivet gun and you think theirs is the best option, why, buy theirs. They come pre-machined and you're good to go. So anyway, my opinions. That's you can do with them what you want. Anyway, what I'm doing today is I'm forming pitot tubes. Zenith pitot tube for the 701 is a very basic thing. They've got some 1/4-inch tubing, I believe it is. Is that what they call for? Yeah, it's 1/4-inch OD tubing. You can look in plans and get the dimensions and the length and everything. And I've already bent the first one, and I've got it a little bit long. But there's the bent portion. This is going to be the pitot tube. I'm actually going to add, and the way Zenith sets these up, or they show them in the plans, is just a pitot tube like that. Inside the wing, there's a flat plate here that goes on here, 40 thousandths. I'm probably going to extend that a little bit, since I am going to add a static tube to this too. And then I'm going to put an extra little jog here on each of these, so I get a little separation. So we'll see how that works. So I've already bent the first one. I wasn't going to video any of this stuff, and I thought I might as well share it a little bit. So anyway, the Pitot-Static thing, I went back, and of course you want other references, and my reference comes for this particular item comes out of Tony Binglis's Sport Plane Builder. Series of 3 books that he made. Even if you're a kit builder, you should have this book. This covers everything from firewall installations in one of his books to everything else you need to know for virtually everything to get a plane built. You know, there's a lot of common sense stuff. It's not hard to understand his writing and anything. It's been around forever. I think you can get these from EAA yet. That's who originally sponsored it. I'll look and see if I can find a link for them to link them and put them in the description below. I'm not sure if they're available other than EAA and some of the bookstores like that, but Spruce has got them and some of the others, but I'll see if I can find a link for them. So anyway, what his recommendation is for static, and I won't go into the whole thing, but we're going to mount, this would essentially be what's in the plans with just our plate here. It's going to mount up into the bottom of the left-hand wing, just outboard of rib 4, I believe, is where they say to mount it. And since Zenith knows more than we do, well, that's where we're going to mount it. What I'm going to do to make this also a static, and I think normally a lot of guys are mounting them in the side of the fuselage. On the 701, that may be good. That may not be so good. I'm not sure. But anyway, there again, if this doesn't work out, why, we'll change it and do something else. Not a big deal. So the way we're doing this is I'm going to bend up another one just like this. It'll end up being a little bit shorter than this one. We'll cap the end, and I'm going to weld these together. So I'll probably just weld the end shut. And probably a couple little tack welds along the way, you know, so we'll end up with something like this. And then Tony Binglis says to add 6 or 8 number 60 holes, or is that what he recommends? I think it is. Where is it here in this? Yeah, 6 to 8 staggered holes around the static tube with a number 60 drilled hole. So that's what I'm going to do. It's pretty simple, pretty easy. So I've already actually marked this one, and we've got our fancy little brake line tubing bender, which will work just fine for this. And I've left this long so I can trim it to match. Just like yay. We'll do another 90. It looks just about like that. So they're going to match up just about like that. This is too long. I'm going to shorten it up probably about 1 inch back from where that one will end. We'll cut it to the same length, and then we're going to jog each of these out and up. Just a little bit is the plan. So I'll probably go ahead and cut my mounting plate and fit this into it before I weld this whole assembly together. But that is the way we're going to do it. We can bend just a little bit more, but I think we'll go ahead and mark these to cut them off. This one will cut right here. go ahead and mark our sections. And let's come back. Let's come back about 30 millimeters off of the nose of the pitot section of it. And I've got 3 marks along here. This is the where our actual plate's supposed to mount. They originally showed it only to come up to here to affix your tube to where I want to jog it out a little bit on each of these. I've added another 25 millimeters at the top so that I've got lots of room there. And there's lots of room inside the nose ribs, so I don't see that as being a problem at all. That out of the way. This end doesn't matter because we're going to plug it. Just like that. Then if we were to do just a little joggle there, about like that. Well, that won't quite work the way I want it to. So maybe it will. So for that one, we end up with something like that. Let's do the other one the other way. I better stop and look at this. And there's our setup. I may clean those corners up a little bit more, make them, this one needs to be a little more parallel, but other than that, that looks pretty good. So that ultimately will be our Pitot-Static right there. Just like that. Yep. I think I'm happy with that. So anyway, hopefully you find that a little bit interesting, a little bit informative. Comments, suggestions, leave them in the comment section for me below. If this interests you and you haven't already hit that subscribe button, I'd appreciate it. Help this channel to grow a little bit and allow me to keep making airplane videos more than anything else right now. And as always, guys, thanks for taking the time to watch.